In the headlines, Rocky Mountain police are still hunting down a man wanted for murder. Just as the area is getting over the trauma of Hurricane Irene, here comes more storm activity. And the American Red Cross is working around the clock to get help out to those still devastated by the recent hurricane. These stories and more coming up on NewsBreak starting now.
From WHIG-TV, this is NewsBreak 31. Now, here's Marie Torres.
Hello and thanks for tuning in to WHIG-TV NewsBreak, your voice in the community. I'm Marie Torres. In our crime report, Rocky Mountain police are hunting down a man wanted for murder. They say 25-year-old Terrell Antoine Powell is linked to last Friday's murder of Anthony Cooper. Though details about this case are scarce, police say they are offering a cash reward for information leading to his arrest. If you know his whereabouts, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 252-977-1111. An area man is in jail today after what police say they found on him. According to Rocky Mountain PD, Tuesday morning they arrested 22-year-old William Wade Cherry while at his home on 2061 Travis Run. Police say they were assisting Cherry's probation officer when they allegedly came across a rifle and assorted drug paraphernalia at the home. He now faces charges of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and 2 counts of probation violation. Cherry sits in Nash County Jail without bond. According to the North Carolina Department of Corrections, Cherry spent 8 months in prison for felony conspiracy to commit robbery with a dangerous weapon. He was serving 3 years of probation during this latest arrest. In other news this week, our area once again met heavy storms. Tuesday afternoon, the Tri-County was under both a tornado and flash flood watch as a collision between a cold front and bits of Tropical Storm Lee moved across the state. According to the National Weather Service, at least 30 counties, including our own, were on alert. We've only learned of one possible tornado touchdown that may have occurred near Pinehurst. Just as the area is getting over the trauma of Hurricane Irene, here comes more storm activity. At least 2 storms are on the horizon. As of yesterday, Hurricane Katia, which finally fell from a Category 3 to a Category 1 over the Atlantic, is moving 14 miles per hour and is at least 400 miles southeast of North Carolina's coast. Predicting that she will stay away from land, experts say Katia may just impact our beaches with dangerous waves 7 to 12 feet tall as early as this afternoon. It is not likely that she will bring damaging wind or flooding, and right behind her is Tropical Storm Maria, the 13th named storm of this year's season. WHIG-TV meteorologist Fred Holdsworth will have more on this coverage during weather later on in the show. If you were affected by the last big storm, help is out there. Over the weekend, Governor Beverly Perdue included the Tri-County area for federal emergency management assistance for both individuals and businesses. If you need to apply for assistance, here's some information you may want to take down. You can call FEMA at 1-800-621-3362, which is available for calls from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. You can apply for help online at www.disasterassistance.gov, and to meet in person you can go to the nearest Federal Emergency Management Agency Disaster Recovery Center, which is in the Halifax Agricultural Building at the address shown on the screen. That is open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. And the American Red Cross is working around the clock to get help out there to those still devastated by Irene. At a temporary headquarters for the eastern region of the state inside of the Wilson Mall, Wednesday we spoke to Communications Officer Hal Tarleton.
This is the Disaster Relief Operations Headquarters. This is the place where the Red Cross volunteers and staff put together the whole plan, the strategy, the tactics. They monitor what's going on all throughout eastern North Carolina. This headquarters is responsible for the disaster relief throughout eastern North Carolina. Very large area, a lot of shelters. We've had 50 7 shelters open at one point. We're down to 2 now, one in Grantsboro and one in Washington. But at one point we had 57, over 7,000 overnight stays in our shelters since Hurricane Irene struck on the morning of the 27th.
All right, and tell us a little bit about the volunteers here. How many people are on staff?
90% of the people you see here are volunteers. The other 10% are paid staff. So that is in keeping with the Red Cross overall mission and overall staffing. Over 90% of our staff are volunteers.
And how important is it that you all are doing this right now?
Well, somebody has to coordinate everything. This is a huge operation. When you're talking about 57 shelters, you're talking about all these people to feed. You've got to come up with the food. You've got to make sure all the cots are there. You've got to make sure that needs are being met. You have to monitor where is power, what's underwater and what's not underwater. You have to plan it from one central location, and that's what they're doing here. They are planning the entire response in North Carolina to Hurricane Irene and all that she left us.
All right, and kind of show us or tell us basically the magnitude. I know you said it was a huge operation, and I know in Rocky Mount and some parts of Wilson, people are kind of going back to their regular day schedule, but for so many, that's not the case. Is that right?
Right. On Hatteras Island, which as you know has been cut in 4 or 5 different places, just getting from one end of the island to the other is impossible right now. So having electricity, having clean water, having all those other things is pretty much impossible. There are a lot of areas in eastern North Carolina that are still out of power, primarily because there was so much damage done. I've heard reports of power lines wrapped around trees or trees wrapped around power lines, and it's just going to take a long time to get all that straightened out. So we're here to help out, to make sure people have a place to stay, they got a way to get food, all that sort of thing until everything is as close to back to normal as possible, or at least until they have a recovery plan. They have an insight into their future. They see how they can get past this.
Okay, and talking about the volunteers again, I understand a lot, again, as you said, are volunteers, but where are they coming from?
A third of them are from North Carolina. The western part of the state that was not affected, or at least very little affected by this hurricane, was able to lend us some of their volunteers to come here. Each one is an expert in the particular field that they're working in, and they've got experience. Many of them have done this many times before, so they're able to come in, set up. We borrow tables, we borrow chairs, we lease a little bit of space, put them all together, and they're able to monitor the entire relief operation, plan for whatever might come up, and be ready for providing shelters, providing food, providing other forms of relief.
All right, and tell us about donations. If someone is thinking about, I guess, donating or really wants to help, how could they do that?
Well, the best way to do that is with monetary funds. We do not accept bulk items, or we do not accept things such as bottled water or food or things of that sort. We try to help our clients with direct monetary contributions. We spend a lot of money operating the shelters, feeding the people. We pay for that. We need cash to pay for it. The simplest way to do that is to go to your local chapter. Deliver a check made out to the American Red Cross. You can designate it for disaster relief. You can designate it for Hurricane Irene. The money is going to stay here. This is a long-term commitment that we have to get things straightened out. We're going to be transitioning out of this stage with the central headquarters and putting the work back on the shoulders of the chapters. The chapters will continue to follow up, will continue to work with folks who need our assistance, but again, that still takes money. So give to the chapters. That's the best place to put it. You could also make a check to national headquarters. You can go to redcross.org, click on the donate link and make a secure donation off your credit card. If you have a mobile phone, you can text Red Cross to 90999 and you've made a $10 donation to the Red Cross that way.
This Friday, September 9th, our local chapter of the American Red Cross will be hosting a live telethon to further help those devastated by Hurricane Irene. That will be right here on our station, WHIG-TV, from 7 to 9 a.m. on our morning show, then again starting at 6 p.m. until, with updates throughout the day. Checks should be made payable to the Frederick E. Turnage chapter of the American Red Cross telethon. When we return on Newsbreak, could the United States Postal Service go out of business? Find out where it stands, and our area will join the nation in the 10th anniversary of 9/11. These stories and more right after these words.
The Country Inn & Suites is your home away from home with a staff that always treats you as family. If you or your church or company has visitors, give them a great Rocky Mount welcome with a special discount on their overnight or extended stay. Not only is the Country Inn & Suites a comfortable place, we'll spoil them with fresh cookies and complimentary breakfast. We are filled with luxuries like an indoor pool, fitness center, and a guest laundry. The Business Center includes a boardroom, connection to high-speed internet, and catering for meetings is always available. Call me, Donna Chavis, at 252-442-0500 for a tour and or to set up your corporate rate. You're always welcome as family in the Country Inn & Suites, Rocky Mount.
Welcome back to WHIG-TV Newsbreak. I'm Marie Torres. Could the United States Postal Service go out of business? That's what the White House is trying to prevent. According to White House officials, the Postal Service may be at the brink of insolvency, at least for a few months. It's reported the agency will be unable to make a required $5.5 billion payment to the Treasury at the end of September, but the White House may delay the payment for 90 days as part of a larger economic package in the works. At this time, Postal spokeswoman Yvonne Yoerger said she had no details of the plan and that a long-term solution will still be needed. In other news, it's hard to believe it will be a decade since the massive terror attack on our country. Our area will be remembering the day that changed America, September 11, 2001, with a commemorative ceremony in Rocky Mount. The city will host the ceremony marking the 10-year anniversary of the attack Sunday, September 11th at 2 p.m. in the courtyard of City Hall. That's located at 331 South Franklin Street in Rocky Mount. The city says in the event of inclement weather, the ceremony will be moved indoors at City Hall. The event is slated to feature guest speakers, musical selections, and patriotic and ceremonial tributes. All are welcome to attend. And as a reminder, there will be an event coming up next weekend to help answer some of your important questions on family matters. We recently spoke to host of the event, the Honorable Carol Allen White, Clerk of Superior Court for Edgecombe County.
The event will be held on September 17th at Edgecombe Community College in Tarboro, and the name of the event is Come Be Empowered, Family Matters. It's our 10th annual community forum. People can expect to receive a lot of good information, to know what documents that they would need in times of situations that may occur that they're just not comfortable enough in talking with other people about. I would say that this event is most geared towards the adults, those who may need a power of attorney or wills or living wills. Contact the Clerk of Superior Court's office, and that number is 252-824-3200.
The 10th Annual Forum again is Saturday, September 17th, with registration beginning at 9 a.m. at the Edgecombe Community College. After the break, it's the latest in sports and weather. Stay with us. We're your news team, bringing it home to you with meteorologist Fred Holdsworth, anchor Marie Torres, sports reporter Edward Green, and Matt Havitt, our studio guy. WHIG TV Newsbreak, your voice in the community.
The Country Inn & Suites is your home away from home with a staff that always treats you as family. If you or your church or company has visitors, give them a great Rocky Mount welcome with a special discount on their overnight or extended stay. Not only is the Country Inn & Suites a comfortable place, we'll spoil them with fresh cookies and complimentary breakfast. We are filled with luxuries like an indoor pool, fitness center, and a guest laundry. The business center includes a boardroom, connection to high-speed internet, and catering for meetings is always available. Call me, Donna Chavis, at 252-442-0500 for a tour and or to set up your corporate rate. You're always welcome as family in the Country Inn & Suites, Rocky Mount.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now here's a look at weather with WHIG TV meteorologist Fred Holdsworth. Fred?
Well, after a few days of rain and thunder and downpours and you name it, we're going to see a moderating trend in the weather starting today. And our temperatures will be pretty well near normal for this time of year. The normal for this time of year, 61 for the low, 84 for the high. So we'll be very close to that for the next few days. The rain and all associated with what was left of Tropical Storm Lee moved up to the northeast and on towards Canada, and that is finally leaving our area, most of it trailing through eastern Virginia this morning. And that will be trailing on up into the northeast and then finally out to sea. And that will be it for the remnants of Tropical Storm Lee. Well, let's take a look at our forecast map and we'll see how that shapes up. First of all, we have a flash flood possibility from the North Carolina-Virginia border northward into New England. This covers most of New York, most of Pennsylvania, eastern Virginia, most of Maryland, Delaware, and most of New Jersey, and even portions of Vermont, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. This area right here. This is all in association with this triple point low here. We have a stationary front right across southern Pennsylvania going out into the Atlantic, and then a stationary front coming down from the low through North Carolina, down through Wilmington area where it goes out into the Atlantic, comes back in around Daytona Beach, Florida, and back out near Tampa, and goes down to a new tropical system, which we'll talk about in our next segment. So rain and thunderstorms all through this area in here. Now the second area of rain and thunderstorms we'll see today is over the Four Corners area, the desert southwest, and extending all the way up into the intermountain areas of southwestern Montana and Idaho. Well, let's take a look at our forecast now. See how we're going to shape up for our area. For today, partly cloudy with a high of 86 and a light wind. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 60. Winds will be calm. For Friday, sunny. 85 degrees will be our high. Southwest wind at 6. Friday night, clear with a low of 61, calm wind. Saturday, sunny with a high of 87, west wind at 6. Saturday night, partly cloudy with a low of 62, and Sunday, partly cloudy with a high of 86. Sunday night, cloudy, 64 for the low, and for Monday, partly cloudy with a high of 86 and a low of 63. Our high temperature yesterday, 85. Our low this morning was 69. Looking at the U.S. extremes for yesterday, a high temperature was 113 degrees in Thermal, California, and low 28. That occurred in West Yellowstone, Montana. The most rain reported by the National Weather Service yesterday, 5.86 inches. That occurred in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And that's a look at your Rocky Mount weather. Now back to you.
Thank you, Fred. And with us now in sports is sports reporter Edward Green. Tell us what's the latest, Edward.
Well, Marie, we got a nice schedule of high school football games, finally with some good weather for a weekend.
Yes. Everybody
can just play when they're supposed to, and it's going to be really good. And I actually got some games on Saturday, too. But we're going to get a little interview in right now.
Okay.
Well, every program has peaks and valleys, and after a few years of Rocky Mount High hitting a bit of a snag, head coach Richard Schock seems to be bringing his team on the way back to lofty heights. I caught up with him the week before the Griffons appear on our Freedom Credit Union Game of the Week against Southwest Edgecombe. You guys are 2-0-1 this year. A little bit weird to have the tie, but it came in unusual circumstances with the weather. But you guys are off to a good start this year. What do you think's been the biggest cause of that?
I think the attitude. We've got a little more size up front. That's helped us certainly. We're still playing a lot of young kids up front, but I think this group has pulled together well, and they've put in a lot of work, and they want to do well. And that's helped us. They've found ways to win games when they had chances maybe not to. And that's a good quality to have.
You guys were pretty young last year. It was kind of a tough season, but it seems like you guys are kind of turning things around. Was it just a matter of getting those kids experience last season?
We played 8 sophomores last year. I think 7 of them are back with us. We're only playing 1 or 2 sophomores right now. So in those terms, we're a lot more experienced. Our junior class is big. Our senior class is somewhat small, but it's a good group, and they can all contribute and play a little bit. And then we've got a junior class that's larger, and then we fill in with a couple of sophomores. And they've got more experience, and they work well together. I think they've bonded really well together, and that's important.
50-2 in your last game, obviously a big win. Always some good things you can take about it, although you're never exactly sure how your team is going forward. But what are some of the key offensive things you guys have been doing to put so many points on the board so far this year?
We've held on to the football offensively. We've got a big line, and we're running single wing, and we're able to move the ball and control the clock, and we've gotten scores when we needed to, but we've been able to score through defense. We've forced a safety. We've had 2 interceptions for touchdowns. We've returned 2 kicks for touchdowns on special teams. So it's been, we've had a lot of areas that contributed to putting points on the board and winning games. It hasn't been unbeatable defense or unstoppable offense. It's been, the offense has been as good as it needed to be, the defense has been good when it needed to be, and special teams have been good when they needed to be. And we've just pulled together in a lot of ways, and it's kind of fun to play games like that where each unit, every group is contributing. You're not having to rely on one single unit to carry you and find a way to win.
Looking ahead, you got just a few more weeks of non-conference play, then you jump right into Big East play. What's going to be key to continue that success throughout the rest of the season?
Well, the last 2 games non-conference will be battles. It's Southwest, it's a rivalry. Rose is a rival for us, and they're a big school and they've always got talent, and I think if we can stay healthy and get a little bit healthier with the open date and keep working and develop some depth, and the attitude stays good, I think we're going to be in good shape going into the Big East. But it's a great league. I mean, top to bottom, I still say it's the best league in the state. You don't have an off night in the Big East. There's not an automatic W. You get to cruise this week. It's you fight for your life every week.
Again, thanks to Coach Schock for taking some time out to talk with us. Here is a rundown of the schedule this Friday night. South Central comes up from Winterville as Northern Nash looks for its first win. Southern Nash goes to Roanoke Rapids to try to stay unbeaten. Fike goes for 2 in a row against Northside. Hunt travels to Beddingfield in a Wilson battle. Nash Central hits the road for the first time as it heads to Hertford County. North Edgecombe plays its first game since week 1 as it welcomes the dangerous Tarboro Vikings. And again, our Freedom Credit Union game of the week is Southwest Edgecombe at Rocky Mount. So a lot of good football this weekend and a few area battles as well. And you've had your fill on Friday. On Saturday is the Down East Viking Football Classic at 4 here in Rocky Mount, featuring Elizabeth City State and Livingston College. And of course, the NFL kicks off tonight with New Orleans and Green Bay, and the rest of the schedule goes on Sunday.
All right, great news, Edward.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. That's going to do it for us here today on NewsBreak. Tune in next week for more news that's impacting the community. For WHIG TV, I'm Marie Torres. We'll see you next time.